And I just laid there and it tossed and turned. And finally it just hit me. It was just like, I need to follow Jesus. That's the answer.
Welcome to You Belong, the podcast where stories come to life, hosted by Pastor Nate. In each episode, we dive into deep, powerful testimonies and moving stories that reveal the incredible ways God is at work in our lives. Remember, everyone has a story, and every story matters to God. So whether you're searching for hope, inspiration, or simply a reminder that you're not alone, let us journey together and discover the stories that unite us all. This is You Belong.
All right, I'm so glad I have my friend Jason Lyons with me, who has a story, and his story matters to God and should matter to us too. So Jason, tell us where you're from and where did you go?
Well, I'm from Carroll's Crossing, New Brunswick. Carroll's Crossing is maybe a community. I don't know. It's not even a town or a village or anything, but near Doketown, Boys Town area. Great spot to be born and brought up. I lived in the outdoors right along the river. We fished, we hunted, we trapped, we hauled hay and picked potatoes with the local farmers and stuff like that. And just a great way to spend a lot of time outdoors, and still love to spend a lot of time outdoors. So,
what was your favorite thing to do as a kid growing up in that area? Did you like doing the hay? Because I've done hay once and twice in my life. It sucked.
No, it was... hay was kind of a bittersweet thing because you always did it in the hot, dry weather in August. So you were really hot, and you look forward to go swimming in the river afterwards, but your arms are all scraped up from carrying the hay bales. So as soon as you jump in the river, it's like, ah!
Yeah. Oh, that stings. That stings. Very cool. What was your favorite thing to do?
Favorite thing? Sometimes I like to, and I like even doing it in the winter in the cold weather, put on the snowshoes and just like head through the woods, not on a trail, not anywhere, and just, I want to go in this direction, and I've got a pretty good sense of direction, and I guess maybe that's...
Would you go by yourself, or would you go with your...
No, I go by myself.
Do you have siblings or anything like that?
I have one older brother.
What's his name?
John.
What's he like?
He's you'd never know we were brothers. He's like half the size of me.
Okay.
Like small, skinny. I'm tall, overweight. He's like a runner. He runs like 20 kilometers a day for fun. And I run to the fridge and back again.
Yes. Were you into sports or anything like that growing up?
Yeah, always played sports. So we played hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer. We rode dirt bikes and four-wheelers and three-wheelers, and I'm starting to date myself now. I'm hanging on to my final few days of my 40s here. So.
You're still good. You're still good, man. What did you do in high school? We're talking like grade 11, grade 12. Was there anything like that was super like impactful that happened during that time?
Not terribly. No, I kind of had a pretty boring life, actually. I was kind of the nerdy kid. I always did well in school, but I was always the smart kid that was friends with the cool kids and that kind of stuff. Yeah, kind of down the middle.
Yeah, down the middle. What did you do after high school?
After high school, I actually went to university for 1 year.
Okay.
I did really well in high school, and it was like whatever, wasn't even a thought about it. I'm going to university, I'm going to become an engineer. I did 1 year of it.
That was your thing?
Yeah.
You thought it was going to be your thing?
I thought it was going to be my thing. I did 1 year of it, and I hated it. I'm like, I cannot do this for 5 years. So I switched over and did a civil tech program, which is kind of the same idea, but it's just not as in-depth of an education, and it's more practical and hands-on, and that.
You like being more? You're more hands-on kind of guy.
That worked a lot better for me. Yeah.
I say, what engineering were you trying to do? Civil engineering?
Civil, yeah.
Yeah. So this is civil.
It's the same, same
idea,
same field. Yeah.
More hands-on. So how long did that take you to do that?
That was a 2-year program.
2-year program.
Yeah.
What was your favorite professor there?
I had a guy. His name was Grant McBurney. He was like highly intelligent guy, and just his answers were so. I've never heard him get tripped up on a question. His answer when he explained something, it was just so clear, and so like he had a real gift for teaching.
Oh, that's cool.
Which you don't always find that in post-secondary.
No, you don't. I got tenure, don't need to do nothing. That's good to have that, man. That's pretty cool. And you are married, right? So who's your wife? Where'd you meet her?
My wife is Caroline, and I met her at a Baptist church.
A local Baptist church?
A local Baptist church. It was right down the road from my house.
Okay.
And I'd never stepped foot inside the place before.
So how did that happen?
It's kind of a funny story. It was Christmas time. I was, 21. Yeah, it's probably 21. I was home staying with my parents for Christmas. I had my brother John. He was married then. He had a little baby, Amber. She's my oldest niece, and she was baby Jesus in the Christmas program.
Okay, all right.
Real live baby Jesus.
There we go.
And so I'm home over Christmas for a couple of weeks visiting, and I was just away working different places then. And so I'm home. I'm like, oh well, I should go check it out and see my niece and whatever. And anyway, there's this little tiny Baptist church, Carroll's Crossing Baptist Church, it was called. And I drove down there, walked in, looked in the door. I'm like, crap, there's a lot of people here.
Oh, there was a lot of people? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, because it was like Christmas? Or
It was like a Christmas thing, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not going to stay. I'm going to go. And I started to turn around and go. And these two girls came up the steps behind me.
always works.
And I knew Caroline a little bit, not real well or anything like that, but knew who she was. And she's like, where are you going? I'm like, it's going to come in here and watch Amber in the program, but I think I'm just going to go home. There's too many people. Oh, come on in and sit with me.
Okay.
And I went in and sat with her. You say that was Christmas '96. Christmas '97, we were engaged. June '98, we were married.
Oh,
May '99, we had our first child. In November 2000, we had our next one. So
That's a fast track. You're like, what I love about that story, because it really, any kind of story that happens like that, it's always these small little moments, like the sovereignty of God, how God just like in control of everything. Like just imagine for a moment, okay, like if your brother John wasn't even in the picture, right?
Yeah.
Never met whoever he met, and then they had a kid at a certain time. Now she's in this, this baby Jesus, and that never happened. Would have gone to church. You wouldn't have met your future wife. I love that, man.
yeah, a lot of pieces of the puzzle.
Lot of pieces. Oh my goodness, that's so cool, man.
So, but the coolest part of that whole story is, I wasn't following Jesus. I was a non-believer. I went to church a little bit, to a local United Church, a local Anglican church as a kid, but not a lot to do with church or anything like that. And when I met Caroline and we hit it off and we started dating, and she was a believer.
Okay.
And things were good for the first 2 or 3 months or whatever. We were young. We liked one another and.
Because she's roughly the same age as you?
She's older.
Should I say it?
She's,
She's older?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, she's like 2.5 years older than me.
Right.
So she was finished college. She was kind of starting her career, teaching and stuff like that. I was starting my career. And we kind of hit it off. But after a few months, there was like this tension that came in our relationship. And at the time, I had no idea what it was. The issue that she was having was, okay, I really like this guy. I could see going a lot further with, but he doesn't have the same belief. He doesn't follow Jesus. I do.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to do that. And we had a lot of conversations, and she was, and still is to this day, like completely open with her faith. Like, I don't know. So I'm still sometimes like, kind of shy away maybe from an opportunity. She doesn't shy away from an opportunity. She's not ashamed of her faith whatsoever, and which we have no reason to be. But she was very open, and in hindsight, led me through a lot of difficult conversations, and God really used her in a big way. So in the midst of that dating, we started dating in Christmas of '96. In August of '97, I just remember again, I was home visiting my parents, must have been for a weekend or a little bit of time off or whatever. And I just remember laying in bed one night and I couldn't go to sleep. And I just laid there and I tossed and turned. I'm like, tired, I want to go to sleep. I got to get up early in the morning. I couldn't go to sleep. And finally it just hit me. It was just like, I need to follow Jesus. That's the answer. That's all this stuff that she's been telling me for the last 2 or 3 months. We were going to church together. Like I was open to going to church. We were going to church together and things. And all these things that I've been hearing just kind of, I was like, there it is. It was that light bulb moment. Yeah.
That's cool, man.
It's the funniest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't like this big altar call, like come down to the altar, and just like
it was me laying in bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
I can't sleep.
Can't sleep. Yeah.
It's like all the seeds been planted, and it's been watering through her, through the church, through different people coming, and the guy's like, listen, I'm real, like believe in me. It's just like that is cool, man. It's a cool story.
So no, that was kind of a neat thing, and again, hindsight is great because you can look back and say, well, that happened at the time. It happened, whatever. And I just remember this was in August, probably in October, November of that year before we were engaged. Just absolute clarity. There was no doubt in my mind. I was on my way to Miramichi, and we were actually together. She was with me when I bought her engagement ring, but she was
Stay in the car for a second. Here. I'm going to go.
she was elsewhere in the mall.
Over here.
And just absolute clarity. You got to buy a ring. You're going to marry this girl.
Wow.
And, that was kind of my first clear sign from, and there's been a lot of clear signs from God since then. So
that's cool, having that clarity and stuff.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Decisions.
And some of it he put upon me. Like we were married in June of '98. We built a new house the same year too. And our first few years there were obviously a little hectic and a lot going on.
You got couple kids too.
Well, so we get married,
oh my gosh.
and before we were married, we were talking like, I don't know if we want to have kids right away. Probably never going to have kids, to be honest with you.
Was that a
that was
a conversation?
That was a conversation, 100%.
Wow.
And we were married in June, and 10.5 months later, we had our first one.
Okay, so you're like, we don't want to have kids, but there's got to be a detail we're forgetting here. Oh my goodness!
And then a year and a half later, we had the next one.
So you honestly had that conversation. Hey, we're good with each other, and
exactly.
We're not gonna have kids,
and had no idea what we were missing, what God had in store for us.
Yeah.
And again, I told that story for the first time probably about a year ago when I gave my testimony. It'd be the first time my kids ever heard that. They're like, we were a mistake? I'm like,
no, you're not a mistake. You're just not a plan. What do you call it? That oh my goodness, that's cool.
Yeah. And just stuff that God injects into your life. And things we did, like our pastor at the Carroll's Crossing Baptist Church at the time, we did some premarital stuff with him, just counseling or education, whatever you want to call it. There's stuff that he taught us to this day that we still remember. We still use it. We still put it in place.
Your I don't you have to go through all of them. What's your main thing that he would have taught you? Like, man, we make this like a daily thing, or like at least something that we go back to all the time. What's that one thing?
Two things. One of them was respect.
Yeah.
And to always remember to respect one another.
Yeah.
The other one was this really cool triangle, which we did that in the Dominican last year when we did our marriage night and gave that diagram out as a gift. But it's basically this triangle, which in marriage where God's at the top and the husband and the wife are here, and you try to keep that triangle as small as you can. You try to keep that equalateral. The husband stays close to God, the wife stays close to God, and the closer they get to God, the closer they get to one another.
Oh, that's practical.
Yeah.
That's an easy picture to keep in mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, that's really cool. No, so you guys have had like pretty good marriage. Like, was there any like rocky moments you had in there? Like, you seem to be pretty tight there to that.
Yeah,
was there
it's funny. We just had the discussion last night. We were watching this crazy TV show, like we were talking about before.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I don't even know what it was, but one of these Netflix series. But anyway, and the husband and wife were fighting and kind of yelling at one another. And I told Caroline, I said, we don't say hurtful things to one another. And she's like, no. And honestly, and I mean, I'm not ratting on her on camera here or anything like that. But I said, early on, you would have said hurtful things to me sometimes. I don't think I ever did to you. And she said, yeah, I would have. But I said, it's been a long time since we've done that. And yeah, God's kind of blessed our marriage. And one of the big things that was a wake-up call for us, I guess, in marriage was, of course, we got married, we built the house, we had the kids.
Doing everything that people spread out over a number of years. Like, let's do it in the first 5. First 5 years. Let's have kids, build a house, let's go.
So you're doing your stuff and whatever, but probably 6, 7, maybe 8 years into marriage, these people who were our age that we went to school with, got married around the same time, started to get separated. And there was divorces and whatnot. And I again, clearly remember her asking me one time, like, is that going to happen to us? And I'm like, no. And she's like, why? And I'm like, well, we have a good marriage. And that's, for me to say out loud that we have a good marriage, that's not going to prevent anything. Yeah. And that's when I really took the role of a husband and the whole thing of marriage, like, to another level. Yeah, like really dove into, what does God, because marriage, I've always said that, marriage has a 100% success rate if you do it God's way.
Yeah,
he designed marriage. Yeah. It's his thing, and if we do it His way, it'll work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's when I really took a deep dive into marriage and husbands and wives, and I'm fortunate that I have a wife that's patient with I'm very curious. I love to study things and come home and rant about what I studied about and stuff like that.
I love it, dear. So interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me more. Tell me more about the stuff you're building. when you have a tight marriage like that with God at the triangle thing, that makes sense, man. Like it does, because if you have, God, one person's following God, the other one's not, it's gonna be unequal. It's just not gonna work. It's gonna be very challenging, and not to say there's not hope for that, for them to come back and to be drawn to that, but when you're both on the same page, both the same priority, like you're gonna have a healthy marriage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is cool. And did that like translate into like your kids and stuff like that? Like, what does it look like for them? They're like, yeah, mom and dad's got a great marriage? Or they're like, if I asked them right now, I called up Cassie, and she's like, no, dad actually called my mom so many hurtful names. I don't know what he's talking about on your podcast. But it was a pretty exemplifying, I imagine.
I would think so. And it's probably something, they would say, yes, my parents have a good marriage, they get along well, whatever. It's probably something, if they got married, they would notice it more, and it would, it would probably resonate with them a little more. But I think that's, that's kind of the key to, and that's where I've always kept my priorities. I mean, I'm a Jesus follower first, I'm a husband second, I'm a dad third. I'm a project manager and all this other stuff. That's all down there too, somewhere down the list, but
as long as you have like Jesus follower at the top, right?
Yeah.
That's it all trickles down from that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you get out of whack, that's when things start happening, or when you put your kids above your marriage and God's down in third rank, it's going to be a jumbled mess and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool. So you got a couple of kids. They're both pretty close in age. Which one's older again?
Ben's older.
Ben's older. So where's he at? What's he doing?
So Ben lives in Bangor, Maine, and he's just finishing up. He's going to be a pharmacist.
Okay,
he's just doing like practical experience now. So in March, he'll be a fully licensed pharmacist.
Pharmacist, very cool. And what's Cassidy doing?
And Cassidy lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and she is an accountant.
Accountant down in Nashville. Well, so does she work for like a small firm, big firm?
She works for Ernst & Young, so it's like one of the top 4 accounting firms in the world. So.
Has it been overwhelming for her? Because they're both young people. Like she's only 20. How old is she? 20.
She just turned 24 last weekend. Yeah. And Ben's 25.
25, okay.
And no, they're both pretty resilient. Again, that's another conversation we had last night, and talking with some friends who were struggling with their daughter going to university. Benjamin actually, he did his undergrad degree at Memorial in St. John's. So he took off and went to Newfoundland as soon as he graduated from high school. He actually did a year when he was 20 years old. Or part of a year, like one semester at Linköping University in Sweden.
Oh wow! Okay.
So
they just travel. They're just gone. They're very independent.
Exactly. He just packed a couple of bags and jumped on a plane and went to Sweden, and it was a great opportunity. The only cost was getting to and from Sweden. It was tuition was the same, living was the same, and all that. So it was a great experience. So he did that, and then he moved on to Bangor to do his pharmacy, and he's looking at probably staying down there, working full time down there.
Okay.
And then Cassidy, when she was 15, she was starting grade 11. She moved to Maine on her own to a boarding school.
What's going on?
She was a hockey player.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was an opportunity to play hockey. And then through that, she got a chance to play like NCAA college hockey. So she
played NCAA hockey.
Yeah. So she went to Plymouth State University in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Played hockey there for 4 years. Decided, she kind of got to a crossroads where, am I going to keep chasing the hockey thing, or am I going to do the education thing? And she chose the education, wanted to get in the accounting field, so that's where Wake Forest and North Carolina came up. So she went there, did her master's degree, and here she is.
You're raising some smart kids. Oh my goodness! I think all parents would want to raise their kids in a way that they're like, yeah, I'm independent. I can go to Sweden for a little bit. I can go down to the States and be away. So that's a testament, I would say, for you guys, and raise them in a way that they're.
And it'd
be hard, yes, I would say.
It is. I mean, you look back in hindsight at all the different phases of childhood and stuff, and again, those first few years, we didn't know what we were doing. But I
don't think anyone does.
Well, but I've shared that before. I think the key to it was we were intentional. Like we wanted to honor God with our lives, with our kids' lives. So we took them to, like, they used to come to the different kids programs here and the teen programs here. They used to go to the fellowship and blah, like just wherever there was a youth event going on, we took them, and just with the intention, we just wanted to honor God. And I've always said that if you show up for God and with the intent of honoring God, he's God. He'll take that and he'll use that in a big way to glorify himself. So that was kind of our strategy when the kids were younger and not really knowing what we were doing. And over time, God gives you wisdom. You kind of figure out what you're doing. And
well, that's cool, man. That's cool to see and to hear stories of success. Like, it's a big accounting firm. Like, I'm not even in accounting. I know that firm. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal to have that. Like kids are down in the States. You know, you got a new job now. Are you finding yourself any other hobbies that you're doing right now, or other side things that you're doing? Like because you were working at a what was the company you were working at before?
It was North Shore Construction.
North Shore. Now you're at
Greenfield.
Very good.
Yeah.
And are you doing anything else at all, like to keep you busy?
Oh yeah, just for fun. So I actually volunteer with Hockey New Brunswick. I've done that for a number of years on the female hockey side, just developing that female game. So I've done that since like 2008, I think, and I've been in a role at the provincial level for the last 7 years. So that takes up a bit of time, and then Carlene and I run a maple syrup business too.
Like Aunt Jemima's, or is it better?
No, Aunt Jemima.
Oh no! Oops, that's heresy. So what does that look like? Because I've heard of you guys do some maple syrup. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's we both did it as a hobby. My brother and I used to do it when we were kids as a hobby. Carlene's father used to do it as a hobby, and once he got a little older and wasn't able to do it anymore, we did it at his place for a couple of years, and this opportunity came up to lease a piece of property, a lot more trees, and make it kind of a viable business thing. So we decided, well, why don't we do that? Invest in it over the next few years so that when we retire, that's a little something we can do.
That's cool. How long does it take if I want like a bottle, what's a normal size bottle of maple syrup that you usually sell?
We sell like 250 mils or 375 mils.
How long would it take to make like a 250 mil of maple syrup? Like, what's the process to make that?
So,
because I can just go to Sobeys and just get it really quickly, but how long?
You can get it pretty quick.
How long does it take to make a bottle that size?
So it's actually the ratio of sap to finished maple syrup is about 40 to 1. So if you had 40 liters of sap, you can make 1 liter of maple syrup. And that's what that is to get you to that consistency where you have a percentage of sugar in it.
40 to 1. That's a big ratio. Yeah. So how do you get that much sap?
So we tap about 600 trees.
Okay, that's it. There it is. We have 600 trees. Okay.
So they're all connected by pipeline. It's gravity fed, so they run down the hill. They run into these big storage totes. So on a good day, we have these 1,000-liter storage totes. On a good day, we'll fill 3 of them. So you have 3,000 liters.
3,000 liters of sap.
Yeah.
A day you would get.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. In my head, I was like, it's gonna take forever. But if you have 600 trees, if I had like 1 tree in my backyard, how long would it take me to do?
You probably take all year to get a 250 ml bottle.
But it'd be worth it. It'd be worth it. So you do 3,000 liters of maple syrup coming, or not maple syrup, but the sap coming in.
The sap. Yeah. So in a given year, we make about 250 liters of maple syrup. So
250 liters.
So roughly about 800 bottles of syrup.
And so where does that go? Like, does it go across the Miramichi? Is it New Brunswick, Nova Scotia? Where is that?
We sell pretty much all locally. So there's a few local businesses like Mill Cove Coffee has it. Like they sell it on the shelf, but they also use it in all their maple drinks too.
Oh,
so
that's
you
cool.
Get a maple latte there. It's our maple.
That's your maple.
And we sell at the naturopathic clinic. Can't think. The Blackville Tourism Center has some. Plus, we do a few different farmers markets too. And the neat thing with the farmers markets is Carlene makes maple fudge. So basically, you take maple syrup and you boil it down to solidify it. So it's like a block of sugar.
Oh my goodness. So if I have diabetes, will I die if I have one?
No,
I'm good.
No. You may, maybe a coma or something, but probably won't die.
You'll be fine. So that's really cool. I didn't realize that's how much maple syrup or sap it would take to do it. Like maple syrups, it's a dime a dozen different kinds. Like, what makes your syrup your syrup? You don't have to tell me your ingredients, but I would assume it's not just maple syrup and then.
No, it's all the same. What you get from me is what you buy in the store too.
So what's the difference? Why am I buying from you instead of buying from somebody else?
Because you know me.
Because I know you.
Okay. You don't know the other guy.
That's maple syrup is maple syrup.
Maple syrup is maple syrup. So there's in order to sell it retail in stores, and I mean I keep the same quality control on mine. There's a certain percentage of sugar content that it has to have, 66 to 67% sugar.
Okay. Yeah.
So that bottle of 250 milliliters of maple syrup, 67% of that's sugar.
Like just normal sugar, like you're just putting in sugar from like.
No, the sugar's already in the
just
sap.
sugar from the sap.
Yeah, so that's why it takes so much sap. The sap that comes out of the tree starts out with somewhere around like 0.5 to 0.75% of sugar. Okay. And the rest of it's basically water. We're boiling all that water out of it to get the higher concentration of sugar.
Now I know so much more about maple syrup. That's what I was like, so it's sap and you add sugar to it? No, that's the sugar from, because I've tasted sap and it doesn't taste the best when it's coming out of a tree.
No.
You get to boil it
There's
down.
just...
It's sticky. I honestly, like, my biggest thing is I don't like being sticky. I don't know if it's a weird thing, but I can't stand, like, sap. My whole day's ruined. Like, if I'm getting a tree or something like that, kind of tree, my hands are covered in sap, I just lose my mind. I just don't like it for whatever reason. So that's cool, man. That's I never knew that was the process. I knew it comes from trees, but I didn't know if you have to add stuff to it. It's like but is there different kinds of maple trees that would give different flavor? Is it honestly like wherever I go, it's going to be the same thing?
It's going to be the same. You'll find there's darker and lighter syrups, but that has more to do with whether the sap was drawn at the beginning of the season or the end of the season.
Okay,
yeah, that's the only thing that really affects.
But Aunt Jemima's not the same thing. No, we're talking. Because you can get butter flavor, so there's no butter flavored sap.
No.
Oh, that's not real sap. No, that's cool, man. That's really cool, and so that would take up some time for you guys.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty intense there for those 3 or 4 weeks in the spring, like late March, early April. The rest of it, we just kind of work away at it here and there. Cool. Yeah.
And then, at the church there, like that's another side thing. Like you're now part of like our chairman of the board for like the NAV board thing. So you're working with Pastor Jeff, stuff like that mostly, and a few other people and stuff to lead that.
Yeah, no, and that's something I feel like God spent a lot of years preparing me. Mm-hmm. You know, when we went to our old church at Carroll's Crossing, I was a deacon there, and I was on the trustee board, and led Bible studies and got involved again. Mm-hmm. It was the younger version of me that didn't necessarily know what I was doing, but I just showed up. Yeah. Just showed up, tried to honor God. Yeah. And I feel like, he's taught me some things and some wisdom, and I think spent a lot of years preparing me for this. I'm really excited for this role. I've probably only been in it for 3 or 4 months now, but as chairman of the NAV board and just what God's doing with the Point Church, and it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you just sitting down talking to me. It's nice hearing some of your story and all the way from you guys got married young, had kids young, built a house young, but just vested hard into your marriage, and I think you're seeing the fruits of that. And with your kids going away, independent kids, and your maple syrup, there's a lot of stuff that you're doing. And so, thank you, man. It's honestly for sitting down and sharing with us, reminding us that every name has a story, and every story matters to God.